All right, and we're back. This is the East Coast Volley Network, and we are doing a recap video on the Chaos Beach Midwest Season Championships. I am Kevin Knight, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Joe Ruzick. So, Joe, we got one hell of a tournament done.
Long day
Long, long day.
for some of us.
Yeah, not so much on mine, but these things happen, and it shows the tournament was strong, top to bottom. Really happy that Corey was able to run that and put that all together. So hats off to him. And definitely going to be back next year, I guess. Maybe for some of the winter ones as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll run some more. I know he put a couple of them on the calendar, but I mean, with the amount of teams that we slammed into that place for 3 tournaments this summer, there's no way he doesn't run stuff when we have to go indoors. I'm sure he's already got stuff in the works too.
Yeah. So I guess without further ado, the question that anyone that wasn't there might want to know is who won the tournament and why? And that answer, may surprise some people. I think it was the 6th seed at the time, Evan Corey and JD Hamilton. They took the whole thing. They beat Travis Mewhirter and Kevin Valila in the finals. And it must have started at midnight or so. Real late night finals for them. And from what I could see, the real story of the show was JD's rock solid ball control, and then Evan's ability to run a variety of sets to move the block around and allow JD to maintain a really high side out rate. And then they just scored points with good defensive sets, set up plays, 3s and 4s, dive plays. But I mean, it was. I really felt like it was a story of ball control, and then having a long-standing partnership. They always knew where they were going to be, and they always knew what they were going to do on any given scenario, and that really does go a long way, I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think, and we kind of touched on this in our analysis when we predicted the bracket, even though we had them bouncing way earlier than we should have, was you kind of stay away from Evan as much as possible, right? But the way that JD was playing, that pretty much played right into their game. Dude was super under control all day, making digs all over the place. And then just with Evan's ability to match ball control and put JD in good spots and his court vision, I mean, I don't know if they dropped the set all day. It kind of never felt close. I mean, I didn't get to watch their early matches, but when they got into the matchup with Lures and Logan, which is where I had them dropping their first match of the day, I think you really could tell at that point, which is probably their second or third match of the day, that like they were going to be around for a while. Yeah. And even through the finish, I mean, Travis and Kevin put up a fight, but it always just kind of felt like, I mean, they were grinding 3 points to Travis and Kevin's every 2, which over the course of a 21-point game is a pretty comfortable victory. So hats off to those guys. JD kind of blew up my Facebook stream afterwards, and rightfully so.
As you should, yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. We were way off. I was dead wrong, and he was more than up to the challenge. Those guys were super impressive all day.
Yeah.
Kudos to them.
I was gonna say, JD probably gets a little bit I don't know, overlooked because of he's probably one of the smallest defenders there, and he was gonna get every ball all day, and he figured it out. He maintained a really high side out rate, and obviously Evan's the real deal. I think we might have undervalued that team, but in our defense, it's not like we've really seen that team play much. So we'll know not to do it in the future, and hopefully they accept our heartfelt apologies. We're still going to make predictions, and it was a lot of fun in the preliminary video. So I guess the next little segment I'd like to do is kind of based on our preliminary video, and that's where Kevin was right and where Kevin was wrong. I think it's important to admit mistakes, but it's also important to point out where we got a few things right. So my first point where Kevin was right, we did a really good job of predicting early upsets. We guessed the Aguilas Mandalaris 46 seed to get 2 consecutive upsets in a row, which they did. So that was pretty cool to see, especially not knowing his partner. That was kind of a
I think weren't they the 40? They were the 47, I
Oh,
think.
they were the 47. Lowry's 46 because we were gonna bring
Yeah,
up
the
Ben right afterwards.
Mhm.
Predicted them to go all the way through upsetting Hudson, which Hudson and Willie, which they ended up doing. So those were really great calls, and I think we had a couple other kind of middle seed. There's at least one or two more that we called that were spot on. And then obviously where Kevin was wrong was like literally anything past the round of 16. So I think every pick of the round of 8, aside from, I think it was every single pick of the round of 8, uh, was either we had gotten it wrong the round before, or the teams that we did pick to get there, the other team won. So in the future, I guess we got to be a little more ballsy with some of the top seeds. And I think we get a little caught in the web of, we know who consistently does well around our parts, and it's easy to kind of pick 1 through 4 to win, because that is what tends to happen in local tournaments. But when you get everybody together in a big mosh pit, instead of the top, we picked the top 8 to still be there, and I think almost all of them were. But when you pick within that top 8, we didn't realize how much parity there was there. So we were way off on those. And I guess
There were
the lower seeds in the public.
two notable top 8 seeds that were not there.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about those? Because I was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, how did the match? I didn't get to see the match versus Storm and Van Rees. How did that one go?
They just brutalized us.
Really?
It was kind of what I had anticipated. I mean, their hitting windows are huge, and they bang balls. I mean, the trajectory that Alex hits from and to is just really tough to defend. And I mean, he's a big lefty that can snap both directions. And Charlie played good enough defense. I think Josh and I, my partner from Syracuse, were kind of like, we were not on the same page for a lot of it. Like, I felt like I came out of the gate playing pretty well, and Josh wasn't quite there. And then when he got up to speed, I was falling off. So, I mean, they got through game 1 pretty easy, and then game 2 looked like it was going to be even easier. I think it was like, it was 13-8 switch both games, and I think they were up 15-10 or something, which looked like they were just going to coast. And then Josh started dialing up his jump serve, and I think we actually got up 19-18 before I decided to choke it away with a couple non-side outs. But
hey, it was close then, at least.
Yeah, we made it look close. I mean, but those guys went on and had a great tournament. They continued to play at a super high level, and they played late into the night. I have the numbers here, but I think they got into they took a third. So they got into the
semifinals,
and they lost to JD and Evan on their way to victory. So good tournament for those guys, but they put to us.
Obviously, we touched on the JD and Evan upsetting Chris and Logan, and again, phenomenal job on their end. And then the other one that was interesting was literally the next round, Van Rees and Storm took down Peter Knoll and Schwengel, right?
John Schwengel. Yeah.
So that's a new team.
Yeah.
It's a little more understandable, but.
Yeah, I mean, it was, from what I saw, and I was sitting a couple courts over, I caught most of game 2, and it felt like Storm and Van Rees were just siding out enough. And they kind of kept their heads above water. They were always clear about 2 points. And then I do think it leveled up late in the game. I think it went extra points, but I want to say it ended up being like 24-22 in game 2. So that was a pretty impressive win for those guys.
Definitely. Not one I don't think anyone would have had on their bracket if they're doing a March Madness bracket,
Yeah. Was that Contenders?
No, that was the 1v8, like 8.
Oh, that's right, because we had the 1 seed wrong. We had Bruno and Angel the 1, and Peter took it because I think he had the most individual points. Okay, yeah, they were on our side then. Yeah. I forget who they ended up getting bounced by in the Contenders, but they weren't around much. Bicco and Evans beat him, eh?
Yeah.
So they weren't around much longer, because that might have been Was that their? Did they go
I
two
believe
straight?
I believe both them and Lures, who you ended up taking, were both got a ninth. I want to say it's somewhere in there, ninth or 15th.
Well, I know Lures and Logan got a ninth.
So then, yeah, it would have been the same round. Then they got a ninth.
Peter and John got a ninth, and then Gustafson Martin got a ninth as well. Those were three teams that we had finishing fifth
Real
or
high.
better.
Yeah. So, so that actually brings me to my next point. So, so where Kevin was right, I predicted actually two teams to come together pretty well. I thought two new teams to come together pretty well and make decent little runs, and that was actually you and Josh, and then Ian and Evan. I didn't have either of you guys in the semis by any stretch, but I did think you guys would come, make it to the final round of 8, and then maybe make a little push towards like a 7th or 5th. And Ian actually, who I just mentioned, had a phenomenal string of wins. What's really underappreciated is Lowry and Buring beat Hudson and Willie, and then actually it was Ian and Evan, David Evans, sorry, Ian and David Evans that took down Lowry and Buring, and then they took out Knoll and Schwengel, and then they took out John Drake and Boland. And then I believe they took Angel Dace and Bruno, who I had winning. Of course, unfortunately, they took Angel and Bruno to 3, and I think it was 18-16 in the third. So, I mean, what a showing by that new team.
Yeah, I can confirm that final score there because I had the pleasure of being forced to rep that after we got knocked out. So, yeah, quite a bit guys against Angel and Bruno. That really could have gone either way. I want to say at like 15-14, David dug at like a pokey high line. He's going to hate that I'm talking about this, but dug a pokey high line and he was kind of like a little bit tight to Ian at the net. Probably should have just put it high and ran something in system, but tried to kind of run a tempo and go a little quick with it and set it too tight. And Bruno was able to swat it back. So that tied it up, and he was kind of kicking himself after that. And then a couple points didn't go their way. But, yeah, that was quite a battle. Definitely a team that impressed me throughout the day without getting to see them play and having to play JD and Evan early, which was a tough one. Yeah. That was going on next to me as I was playing Storm and Van Rees. So didn't get to dive into that one too much, but I think JD and Evan made pretty efficient work of that match too. I mean, I heard some loud points over there and it was a battle back and forth, but JD and Evan came through. So kind of thought that was going to be a rough route for Ian and David through the contender side. And as you said, it was, but they were up to the challenge.
5 or 6 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching. I walked back inside because the contenders was inside. I walked in and looked at the score, and we were running 1-25 just to try to get through the day before sunrise on Sunday, and it was 22-12 or something. And I had to kind of do a double take, like, are we in warm-ups now? And they haven't started keeping score, but no, they were putting it to them. So Dan and Dan looked good early. I mean, that match against Hudson and Will, we kind of earmarked as being a tight one, and it was.
Yep.
Will and Hudson had probably 4 or 5 match points in game 2 that were a little bit nervy and could have gone their way, but a couple of block touches deflected, not their way. And then Dan and Dan were able to take it in 3. But I think they wore down a little bit throughout the day, and everybody knew. I mean, once you drop to the contenders, it was,
it's a slog.
Strap, because you're going to be here for a while and you're going to fight. And 1 game to 25 can get a little bit weird, as Logan and Lures will probably attest to. Ours was a roller coaster back and forth. But
yeah, I was going to say, if you want to go into that, because you're the other team I had that was like a new team, didn't really play together. But I mean, you guys definitely made a decent little run there yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we were so streaky back and forth. I mean, I would say every match that we played, there was moments where we were really working well in tandem, but it just never felt like we could sustain it for an entire game. After our first match, I mean, that was kind of like a feeling out period, which I don't really think we gave up a ton of runs in that one. I mean, that was going to be just kind of a ball control affair, and we were fine there. But he played really good in game 2 against Alex and Charlie, especially late. And then when we dropped to the contenders, we had Joe Jackson and Mike Powers, which you guys had them, I think, the first match of the day.
Yep.
And I mean, they know what they're doing out there, so you can't really sleep on those guys. We got through them okay. I mean, we went up a lot early, but then I think we only skated by like 25-21 or something. And then we had Caleb and Drew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which I knew that was going to be a battle. And we sided out at a really high percentage. I mean, I think once it was like 12-10 us, I don't know if they scored a reel after that. So,
Nice.
I mean, it was still a tight game. I want to say it was 25-22, but we just sided out over and over again. And then our reward for that was to get kind of a testy Lures and Logan team after dropping to JD and Evan. So, I mean, if we're being honest, I didn't go into that with a ton of confidence, but we started super hot. I mean, I think they took a timeout at like 13-7, and then we got another reel coming out of that. So we switched up 14-7. The game to 25, if you have 2 competent side-out players, I mean, that's a wrap. I decided far less than competent the second half of that game. So you go from up 14-7 to down 2017. So figure out the math there. Yeah, someone was pissing down their leg for a little while. But Josh, to his credit, like really kept us in it, made a couple of big plays at the net, a couple of good peel plays. And then I kind of got my act together. I think it was down 22-21. I got a side out, and then I got a couple digs that I was able to transition. They sided out back, and they went at Josh on match point. Didn't hit the best pass, but it probably worked out in our favor because I had to make a scramble set, which pulled Logan off the net, and then he was able to kind of split it with the roll up the middle that, Logan or Chris could have dug, but they both tried to dig it. So if you get a chance, it's on the Chaos Beach live stream. I think the most exciting part of the match is Logan Weber's hat throw as the match ended. I mean, it was a laser beam. I think he threw it from the building side over the net, maybe over the back net on the other side. So just kind of a tough day for those guys. I never felt like they were really in sync, and Chris and I have talked about it since, and neither of us were really siding out at a high clip. And honestly, we had opportunities against JoJo and Cameron in the next round. We were another game to 25 that we kept tight the whole way and really had a 2-point lead. I think I got a dig and had a swing to go back up, maybe by 2 or 3, and couldn't convert. And then we were up 23-22 with them serving. So you got to feel like that's a good place. I mean, one side out to get to 24, that guarantees, 2 match points at least, with one of them being on serve receive. And I couldn't get it done. So, I mean, hats off to those guys. They beat me 4 times in the past 3 tournaments, and they're a super good team. I mean, they're going to put up a fight against anybody. I like to play them because they're definitely a challenge. I don't like to play them because I never beat them. But it was definitely a good run for us, having never played together. Look for big things out of that Josh Bigford in the future. I mean, he's
really
back in playing indoor, but technically really sound. I mean, I know there are a lot of good hand setters at that tournament, but I mean, Josh never came close to doubling a ball all day. Probably just my good passing, but also he's got great hands and a great feel for the game. So it's good to play with him. He'll find his voice too as he gets a little older. He's only 20, so once he starts to get out there and really kind of command the court and drive his partners, he's going to be a force for sure.
Great to see both him and Caleb Jennis out there, both really young.
Yeah, Caleb was impressive for sure. I mean, we kept the ball away from him as much as possible, but there were a couple high passes that he got, and he took them on 2, and I was ducking for cover for sure.
He blessed that ball.
He was bombing balls.
Yep. So the last little point where Kevin, last little serious point where Kevin was wrong. So this is where I admit my own faults.
Yeah.
I've been known, and Graham pointed this out. I've been known to bet on myself in every match, and I do it relentlessly, and I do it unapologetically. Will and I had some earlier success at a chaos event earlier in the year, not nearly as strong as this one, but I was hoping to kind of build on that and kind of just come in as a dominant side out force. And we, like you were talking about, Cam and Joe, never played that team. We kind of knew what it was going to be. Real tough serving teams, both sides. One side blocks a little better, one side digs a little better, a lot better. And they came in with a better strategy and executed on us. And so that blew us apart. They purposely kept the ball about 4 feet off to get away from our blocks, which made a ton of sense, and then shot us around, and we didn't pick up hardly anything. And we made a really awesome late push at the end, and we got up 2019 for set point after being down all set two, and just couldn't quite take them out. So they ended up upsetting us in a really tough match there. I ended up watching the tape. We had 12 missed serves in 2 sets, so that makes it real tough to win. I live and die by the jumper, so that's how that goes. But kind of enough about me. We didn't get it done against Johnny Drake and Volan. He had one hell of a serve run on us, and we definitely didn't handle it well. And tough day for me. I'm not going to stop betting on myself, but I got to admit when I'm wrong. And a 17th was not the third place that I was graciously predicted to get. So I'll take it. Take the licks for it.
Yeah, there was another team in 17th that surprised me as well. Matt Baleko and Ryan Lehman.
Yep.
I think we had them going a little bit deeper early, and then I would have expected them to make a run in the contender side. I don't actually know who knocked them out, but I know their first match they lost in 2 to Dylan Kembry and Logan Curlin. We talked a little bit about Logan and Dylan. We had them getting through their first round game. I had them losing in that match to Lehman and Baleko. So hand up, I had that one way wrong. Dylan was super impressive. We talked about Logan and his partnership with Tyler Carnes, who's now up in Chicago, and how they've had some good runs beating good teams, especially in that AVP Next tournament. And Dylan, it was kind of, how's he going to fit into the mix? With Logan and Tyler having some familiarity between the two, Dylan didn't miss a beat. He was an exceptional side-out player in that match. Oh, yeah. I got to watch a lot of it.
I did too.
He was melting balls to the deep corner. I mean, Baleko didn't really have a chance in the back, and Lehman was super disruptive. And Logan, Logan's got good hands, and he's got good ball skills. And he's like a sneaky good blocker. Like, he gets these weird blocks for points that end matches, and it's just like sometimes you just kind of walk.
It's a great cross block.
You don't know what happened, but they're moving on and you're not. So really impressed with Dylan throughout the day. They ended up getting knocked off by Adam Gustafson and Max Martin on the top side, and I think they dropped to Willie and Hudson in the contenders. But really strong start for those guys. Dylan's kind of like up and down in opens a lot of times, so I hope that the early success he had on Saturday kind of builds on that, because he definitely belongs out there for sure, and he can hang in those big matches.
Actually, that transitions really nicely. So the last little segment I'd like to ask is give me 3 stocks of players that are on the rise. If you had to invest in them, it can be the high finishers that made a semi or final, or it can be somebody that like Dylan that we people might not really be paying attention to, but pulled something out that not a lot of people would have expected.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it fairly local because I know these guys a little bit better. But so Dylan would probably be my number one. I mean, I think he had a really good day. I didn't get to watch much of his contenders, but just in that one match, he showed me enough to really kind of, really respect the direction his game is going and what he can potentially be in the future. Great hands, great defender, not scared to stick his face in there and dig a hard driven ball. And then also, he definitely showed some power when he was swinging, which is just going to open up shots in the future. So he was super good, and obviously I won't take anything away from Logan because it's certainly a team game. So, I mean, I know a little bit more about Logan's game and what he has done at the open level. So, he's kind of more of a consistent, constant guy that I could count on there. Dylan was more of the wild card with that team, but they definitely kind of balled out. So I'm really impressed by those guys. Alex Voland was impressive. And everything I heard from both him and Drake, I watched your guys' contenders round match. And then, the matches after that, it sounded like they beat some pretty good teams by considerable margins. And both John and Alex were saying it was a lot of Alex from the service line. And then, John siding out, and Alex is not generally a hand setter. So, putting that ball consistently up there with a platform for your partner to side out is not something to really be overlooked. So he kind of was away from the game for about 1.5 to 2 years. He was, really on the rise before that, kind of went another direction and kind of settled into his career, which I think all of us can kind of understand. But he didn't really skip a beat when he came back. John and him played a few months ago in the first one, and you could tell there was a little bit of rust, but he's been up at league night, and he's definitely a force among us guys up at Grandstands, playing every Thursday night and Monday night too. But all we really care about at the end of the day is what it looks like when you get in these big doubles tournaments, and he holds up for sure. I like that there were a lot of guys out there that don't generally play open tournaments as well from our area. So like you get, Lure's nephew John out there playing, really good setter, good defender. I mean, like some of those young guys that they just are playing at this level already. Like,
that's huge.
They stick with it, give them 5 years, and they're going to be amazing. And if you're really good at 23, I mean, you're almost like 5 or 6 years ahead of some of us, where we started to kind of find our legs in our mid-20s, and now we have kids out there that are 17 and 18 doing it. So Cosby Sand is another local guy. He's going to be a good player. I mean, he's already got the body for it. And definitely is, he gets a million touches. So, that's kind of the name of the game, right? If you put yourself in all those circumstances, you're only going to get better. So him and Kyle Wagner being out there, they got a 17th this weekend. I think those guys go into these tournaments and you probably don't have a ton of expectations, but if you start to taste a little bit of success and get, 1 or 2 wins here or there in an open tournament, you're going to get up against a good team. And you can give them a scare. And in a game to 25, you never know. If you put yourself in those opportunities, you're going to start to win some. So really good to see a lot of those guys out. It just makes the tournament like a deep field, right? Like, I didn't really see anything where it was like, man, you guys really shouldn't be here.
I agree. I totally agree. I think Travis pointed that out in his article. There's a bunch of guys with not a lot of points, but they come out and play, and they play a lot, and they can get it done. They can surprise some people. They play good ball, and that was really cool to see. And if I were gonna add, anybody, I just put the 2 Louisiana boys out there, Ian Bicco and JD, obviously. Both of them just absolutely came and balled like crazy. And Ian with the 5th that could have 1 point away from a 3rd, and JD with the win. Neither one probably was expecting it. Well, either one would have been expected by the outside community to kind of pull that off, and phenomenal on those guys. So overall, a super fun tournament. Really, really, really cool to see the variety of athlete and style that came in. Not a lot of wind all day, so you saw a bit more ball control. A few, probably less aces than you'd normally see. but you know, it was a ton of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And what I thought was interesting and maybe not so fun was we had a couple people that were really good teams with no points. And then, you know, some of those upsets that you see early in the day with Agilis, your Greek dude, and the Dans being at like the ass end of the tournament and getting some early wins, like that pushes some good teams to the
Yeah.
contenders. So then, like, you know, if you lose an early match, sometimes you're just like, okay, let's like we'll get our bearing in these next couple, and then we're back ready to fight with, you know, with the true, you know, competitors here that are trying to win this tournament. That was not the case on Saturday. I mean, you dropped down and you had to go to the board and be like, all right, where am I at? And
Lehman, Hudson, Canole, these guys were all, you know, battling it out in the double digits in the contenders somewhere. So I mean,
yeah,
really, really, yeah, like you said, you had no idea what you were kind of running into on the way in.
makes for a fun day.
Yeah, yeah, I think we should probably wrap it up, and I really just want to say thanks for doing these videos. I hope in the future you think about doing a couple more, even if it's not a tournament Grambler I can make it to. I think it's great to start putting the names out there, and I don't know, you know, people really enjoy it. It drives interest, and yeah, I just really wanted to say thanks for spending the time.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate the platform. Yeah, give me a call whenever you guys do those like East Coast ones. I might not know a lot of names, but I mean, I can BS it and pick winners based on how many consonants are in their last names and stuff like that. But
You can always be our drunk iPad.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can be that guy. Just
All right, man.
give me an hour and a half heads up, and I'll get started.
For sure, for sure. We're gonna sign off now, but thanks for anybody that stayed around and watched, and who knows, maybe a whole bunch more of these are gonna start popping up here. Thanks, Joe.
You got it.
Peace.
Later.